Okay, yeah, thank you very much for joining us today, Chris. First of all, I'd like to talk to you really about the reason why you're here. That's to look at the A61. From actually going to look at the road, what have you found?
Well, look, this is important. Lee Rowley has been biting my ankles ever since he became Member of Parliament to say A61, real problem. Can I come and see it, understand what the nature of the issue is? I've actually just been sitting in a traffic jam on it, so I understand the issue, understand the challenge. What we're doing is we are launching this year what I call the Bypass Fund, money to be spent on schemes on the kind of second-tier roads around the country, not the motorways, not the big dual carriageways, but how we break some of the log jams in areas like this that frustrate people at peak times. And it's been really helpful to understand that this is the kind of road that we need to look seriously at improving.
Yeah, obviously it's not only a bit of an inconvenience for motorists, but also future development in the town. We're seeing, around North East Derbyshire, we've got the Chesterfield Waterside development coming, HS2, which we'll get onto shortly. How important is it that in terms of infrastructure, spending is kept up with all those developments coming to the area?
Well, we can't build all the new houses without having infrastructure improvements. That's why in the budget, Philip Hammond announced more than £2 billion more for infrastructure linked to housing development. It's really important the two go hand in hand, otherwise things just grind to a halt.
And Lee, I'll bring you in here because this road, obviously, this is something that you and I have grown up with in the town. It's a massive issue. It has been for years. It's long overdue, isn't it, that something's done?
Yeah, I mean, this is, as you say, this has been something which has been a problem for many years. I remember when I was growing up 20 years ago around here, it was congested then. It's got even more congested in the past decade or so. And it's really great that Chris has been willing to come up and take the time. And we spent quite a bit of time down on Derby Road today, just looking at the challenges both out of rush hour and in rush hour, so he can see all the challenges we have. And I hope that we can make some progress in the coming years.
And I'd like to talk to you, Chris, if I can, as well, about the safety of the A61 and the surrounding roads in Clay Cross particularly. We've had 2 people actually knocked down and killed either side of Christmas there. So is there anything that can be done in terms of making the road not just better for motorists but safer for pedestrians as well?
Well, I think easing congestion, removing the frustration of motorists is a really important part of creating a safer road. Clay Cross is obviously one of the big challenges on the A61. It's a bottleneck, it's got long jams, it's got frustrated motorists. So I think it's Clay Cross particularly where we need to find a better way of doing things.
And Lee, again, I'll bring you in as well. Clay Cross, another big problem area.
Yeah, and what has happened over the past few weeks has been really tragic, and I've been speaking to residents about that. I think there's still investigations going on with regards to that, so I probably will let that run and see what comes out of it. But Chris is absolutely right in terms of the wider point about Clay Cross. There is the challenge of just getting through the town centre, and that's been there for a long time, and we need to see what we can do to try and improve that over the long term.
Excellent, thank you very much on that. I'll move the conversation now on to a little bit about the railways and the decision that you made, Chris, to scrap the electrification of the Midland main line, which obviously is a railway that runs through Chesterfield. A lot of people in the town use that line. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, the important thing to say is that we are currently going through the biggest modernisation, the biggest improvement to the Midland Main Line since the 1870s. That hasn't changed. It's not going to change. What we're going to deliver is better journeys, faster journeys. But the thing that doesn't make the difference is how the trains are powered. It's all about new signalling, straightening tracks, and of course getting new trains so that people have a better, more comfortable journey. The approach I'm taking, modifying the project, partial electrification rather than total electrification, means we can deliver all the improvements sooner, particularly the new trains. We'll have new trains on this line years earlier than would otherwise be the case. And we'll deliver a project which is going to deliver all the passenger benefits in terms of journey times at lower cost to the taxpayer and with better trains sooner.
And you're talking about making cars fully electric by, I think, 2040. So isn't that going to be a little bit of a setback, though, given that trains will still not be fully electrified, that you're still going to be partially burning fuel on those when you're trying to make a greener country?
Well, we're going to have hybrid cars on the roads. We're going to have hybrid trains on the railways. It's about making the smartest use, the most flexible use of technology. We're going to have hybrid cars operating on our roads for many decades to come. I think in the end, we're going to see hydrogen cars. We'll have some electric, some hybrid, some hydrogen. I think we'll see that kind of mix on the railways too. It's about using technology in the smartest possible way to deliver benefits quickest, to deliver them in the most cost-effective way, but above all to give people a better journey, and that's what this project's all about.
But have you listened to the views of the likes of Toby Perkins, the Chesterfield MP, who wasn't very happy with the decision, and also the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce, who were also telling us about their disappointment that, you know, we want more spending on the railways and the infrastructure, and the electrification of the Midland Main Line was a big part of that, even to them, bigger than the HS2 project.
Well, look, the reality is people want spending on infrastructure, but they want spending on infrastructure that makes a difference. And I want to focus the spending on things that actually change people's experience, makes their journeys better. Spending money on a system of power that doesn't make any difference to the passenger experience, that actually costs the taxpayer a load of money, when we can have new trains years earlier, when we're already modernising the routes, so it's going to knock a large chunk of time off the journey time to places like Sheffield. That's what people want, that's what people need.
And finally, on to that HS2 project. I know the government are fully backing this now, and businesses in this area seem to be backing it as well, but some residents are yet to be convinced. What can you say to those residents who are still a little bit sceptical about it, coming through their areas and potentially reducing the price of their houses?
Well, what I would say, I know that HS2 is a project that will affect some people, and if you're caught up on the route of a big project like this, I know it's tough. We will look after those people. But the difference this will make to the East Midlands is enormous. It's about two things. It's not really just about fast journey times, though actually the East Midlands economy is going to benefit enormously from fast journeys to Birmingham, fast journeys to Leeds. But it's also about creating more capacity on the transport system, to have more commuter trains and more freight trains on the rest of the network. And of course, on top of that, around Towton, there's going to be the most fantastic hub for the East Midlands that I think will be a growth area. Chesterfield and Sheffield, being on the HS2 routes, will benefit enormously economically as well. So I think this is going to bring jobs to the East Midlands, it's going to bring economic prosperity to the East Midlands, and I would argue that in the end it's going to mean a more prosperous East Midlands with higher house prices, not lower.
But is it really worth the huge financial outlay and all the upheaval that it is going to cost? I know it's not really local, but further up north in the Yorkshire area, some houses are going to have to be knocked down because of this. Is that worth it?
Well, look, you can't build a major bit of infrastructure, whether it's a new road or a new railway line, without some impact. The reality is, I wish that wasn't the case, but the reality is it's always going to be the case, and we have to look after the people affected, and we will do. But if we want a dynamic economy with better transport links, we want more space for commuter trains in South Yorkshire and in Nottinghamshire and in Derbyshire, then you have to create the space for those trains by increasing the capacity of your system. And so, if you're sitting in Sheffield and Chesterfield and further south, and you want more commuter trains so that you can get off busy roads, so we can take traffic off the A61, you actually have to create more capacity, and that's what HS2 will do.